joining with us this evening. All right, let me start again. So, welcome to the second hosting in our series, PennyWise, put on by the Treasury Department of the O.W.L.S Ministry. And for those who don't know, for those who are new, for our guests joining us, O.W.L stand for Outreach, Worship, Love, and Spiritual Support. And I'm happy to have all of you joining us this evening. I know it may have been a long day, but we hope that this program will be very impactful. I will now invite Dean Roy to pray for us to get into the program.
Good night, everyone. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Loving Lord, thank you for bringing us here on this platform, O Lord, to discuss a topic which is of utmost concern to you, O Lord, because you are interested indeed in our finances. Lord, we just want to thank you for your provision. And we thank you, O Lord, that you have given wisdom that we can use to manage properly your resources, because we are indeed stewards, Lord. I pray, O God, that your people will listen to the good advice that is given. And I pray, O God, that we will be in better financial situations because of the wisdom that you would have given to us through this forum. Thank you for all the persons present here, and thank you for the presenters. Pray that the program will run according to your will, and we know your will is good for us. So thank you, Lord, and be with us, I pray, in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Dean Roy. So now we'll have just a little icebreaker to get to lighten the mood, since I know some of you may have just reached home from work. So I'm going to share 3 pictures, and I want for you to respond in the chat and tell me which topic for this evening you think the picture is relating to. All right? Nowhere. No, Siobhan. Well, okay. All right. So here's our first picture. Oh, I said ice maker. Okay, icebreaker. Sorry. So tell me which one of the topics for tonight. So what? So Daniel got it. Contingency planning. All right. Our second picture. We'll see who's bright enough to guess this one. What? So only Daniel trying tonight, guys. Open draw. No, Sanjay. So Daniel guessed it is business planning. Guys, the pictures are relating to the topics for this evening. So look at the program. Yes, yes. All right. And our third picture. Well, I mean, if we don't get this, then good job, guys. Good job. All right. Well, they were pretty easy. But I know that, we probably had a long day. Yes, Daniel, what Daniel said, what the other Daniel said. And we probably had a long day, so I purposefully made them easy. Now we're going to get right into our first presentation, and the speaker will be introduced by Chanel Martin.
Good night, everyone, and welcome again. As Kushima said, we're happy to have you here. The first speaker for tonight is very interesting. It should be very interesting. She is a marketing and poverty alleviation specialist. You got that? Marketing and poverty alleviation specialist with an emphasis on development management and economic empowerment. She has over 29 years of experience and is very willing and very eager to share and to encourage each other, everyone to just uplift themselves with whatever tools they are given. The person that I'm speaking of is none other than Miss Janine Taylor.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay, everybody can see and hear me well, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so let me jump right into it. I tried to condense, I don't want to get into the academics of business planning, but what I'll do, I'm going to leave 5 nuggets, 5 areas of business planning that you need to pay attention to. And there is a 6th area that we're going to start with that is the most critical of them all. And the one that I'm going to start with is the mindset of the entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is a very technical thing to take on. And I'll share with you what an entrepreneur said to me recently as we explored the impact of COVID. And he said that when you are employed to someone, yes, there is always the threat of job losses and so on, but there is some amount of security in knowing that once you're doing your job well, it is now the organization's responsibility with the help of the team to keep the organization going. And so you're a little bit more secure and can relax a little bit more while the entrepreneur pays himself, him or herself. And so the mindset of the entrepreneur is quite different in their approach to going after the money. And so I thought that was a good response coming straight out of the mouth of an entrepreneur because it is really about the mindset. You're going to encounter a lot of challenges as you start to execute a business. In some instances, the entrepreneur gets a really good start, things are going really well, and then they encounter hiccups and you start questioning, was this a good idea for me to do? And that's where the mindset of the entrepreneur becomes critical. It may not mean that you continue with that business, but it definitely means that you persevere through
Smaller ones.
the challenges that you encounter and going after what it is you want to do as an entrepreneur. And what is that? You want to secure your own economic source. You also have the ability to provide jobs to other people. You have the ability to contribute to your country's economic growth as a composite of entrepreneurs. And so having entrepreneurs in your country is a very good thing. But it does start with the ability, the mindset. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Maybe somebody needs to mute. All right. So that's the first thing. So I hope you have your pen and papers, right? Mindset. And what is the mindset? Must constantly be willing to pivot and innovate and continuously improve. There is no destination for being a good entrepreneur. You learn from your failures, you learn from your successes, and you must be willing to network and work with others. You must be willing to take risk. I think that's one of the major characteristics of an entrepreneur versus someone who decides to go into employment. And so there are a whole host of other characteristics that influence the mindset of an entrepreneur and what their values are. So if we say everybody here has the right mindset, we're risk takers, we're willing to fail, we're willing to succeed, we're hungry to succeed, we're willing to work with others, then what's next? So we're talking about now what goes into the business plan. And even before you start scripting a business plan, these are things you need to have, like a journal, your entrepreneur's journal. that you're writing down your ideas. It starts with an idea. Well, here's the thing about ideas. And could you pause? Okay. Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. So first tip, get an entrepreneur's journal. This is just a book that you brainstorm your ideas, you put through your thoughts, because you're gonna, once you have that entrepreneurial spirit, you're going to think of ideas. You're going to recognize opportunities in the environment that you're in. And it's always good to write it down, because it's going to come with different angles, and as you think it through, it will be refined. So it's good to start by just having a journal if you're not already in business, right? Now, here's the thing about having an idea versus what you do when you go into a business. Now, one of the first things I'm going to suggest to you is to always take a customer centered view on going into business. What is the alternative to that? Most persons come from the product or the service. So when I use the word product, I'm referring to both tangible goods and services and anything in between. But most persons come up with a product idea before they explore what customers are looking for. And so, one of the most successful features of a good business is that it is customer focused. And by being customer focused, we're not just talking about customer service. That's not what we are talking about. Yes, you have to provide good customer service, but your entire business process, your entire business idea is centered around a customer's need, problem, or anything that is expressed as being lacking in the existing offers in the market. So you may identify a need that is not being filled. Good area for innovation to take place, because it means that there is currently no solution for that need. And needs usually fall within the realm of basic needs. So we're talking about shelter, food, clothing, and those basic needs. Or you can identify a problem that exists, whether it is a problem of a new kind like COVID. Now we would have seen a lot of the digital firms, we would have seen the Zoom taking off because so many persons now would have needed to fill the gap to meet. These are some things that will emerge as problems in society that you can create a solution for. Now, there's another one that has to do with examining existing products and looking at where they are lacking. So we could look at Uber, we could look at Netflix, we can look at those kinds of disruptive business ideas that seek to fill a gap. And I'm not sure if persons know the Uber story or the Airbnb story, but those problems would have emerged from somebody saying, the existing solution is not working for them. What could they do to go around this problem and creating a solution that is going to fill that gap? So that's what I mean by customer focused. Even the way that you set up your business processes, even the way that a customer enters your business, how convenient is it for a customer to do business with you, means that you are generating a customer centered business model. And that is different from just having a product idea, developing the product, and then trying to sell it. That is it works for some, but it's a more difficult task. You would need to really have identified some problem, some what we call pain that is in the marketplace that customers are experiencing. Because guess what? You want when you are feeling that pain, the customer can relate to the solution that you're offering. They must be able to see the solution to the pain or problem that they're experiencing in your product. That way now you don't necessarily have to focus on convincing them to buy, but merely now providing them with an excellent experience, right? So that's the first recommendation. Ensure that your business idea or the product or services that you're going to offer is customer focused and focused on solving a problem that customers are having. And I'm made a point of extending the idea of customer service because it's not a customer service issue. It is really about, do you have a solution for my problem such that I would be willing to pay for it, right? That's the first one. Make sure that the business is customer focused. The second one is looking at the particular solution that you have come up with, right? I'm seeing some questions. So what I'll do is I'll take the questions after the presentation. So make your notes and put them in the chat. I'll review the chat when I'm through. So when you come up with your product or service, chances are there may be an alternative already in existence. So how are you going to differentiate? How can you modify the thing that you're offering such that it is now a new offer? As well as you may be able to identify gaps in the existing product. So you may see a product idea that is out there, but it is not servicing the market effectively, meaning the demand is more than the supply. And in that regard, you can come up with a product that is similar to fill the gap. So you may see somebody selling umbrellas for argument's sake, but they are always out of stock and customers are always complaining that they cannot find good umbrellas. That's an opportunity now for you to solve that problem. Always test it, but that's a way that you can use to determine what kind of products or service you can come up with, right? Now, everything that I'm going to say here is taking the emotions out of entrepreneurship and being very practical in your application, right? Because ultimately you want to make money. So A, it must be customer focused. B, the product or service must be differentiated or in demand and demonstrate some level of innovation as opposed to what is already in existence, right? The third thing is my baby, which is marketing. And I have seen quite a number of pitches that have been done for persons who are pitching their business ideas. And unfortunately, when they get to marketing, they focus a lot on advertising and promotion, which is just merely one component of marketing, right? So we want to talk about the branding. That's a big problem in Jamaica. Many products out there without strong branding. And why is that important? In a lot of instances, well, we would have seen that in COVID as well, some products can become immediately irrelevant in a marketplace given the nature of the environment. However, with a strong brand, you can leverage on that brand and put out new products and innovate to quickly respond to the changes in the marketplace. So it is important that while you are investing in product development and things of that nature, that you also seek to establish a brand. It's the same as having a name. So if I don't have a name, you would not be able to communicate effectively to me or to get my attention, or I might not be able to get your attention. So that is one key thing in marketing that we need to focus on. The next thing that we need to focus on is our story. We must always have a story. Why are you in business? What's your why? Why are you in business? And what that does, it helps you to connect with your customers, your target market. It helps you to communicate to them the meaning behind what you're selling. So you don't want to go out there and just say, okay, I'm selling you something, give me your money. You want to have something very impactful as a story that tells why you are in business and why you emerged as an entrepreneur. It's a good, compelling value that adds value to the offering, right? Because nowadays consumers don't buy products, they buy companies, they buy brands, they buy meaning. right? So there needs to be some amount of meaning. In marketing, you need to have values, and there is also ethics in marketing. So you have to ensure that you're not, technically speaking, marketing is about some level of manipulation, but manipulation can be good or it can be bad. Your motive must be explored at all times to ensure that you are having ethical marketing campaigns. You're communicating exactly what your product can or cannot do, and in some instances, communicate what are the side effects, if depending on the type of products. And that's why in some communication campaigns they say these things, because it is an ethical practice in marketing. You must not seek to deceive your consumers, right? Service, and somebody mentioned the whole thing about customer service earlier. Critical, the experience. So I tend to want to now move away from what we call typically customer service and talk about customer experience. And that's a whole new discipline emerging in the marketing field called experience management, that says it's not just about the product you sell, it's about the experience the consumer has when they walk through the business place. It's about the operator, it's about the security guard, it's about the encounters that they have as they do business with you. It's also about creativity. This is where we have a lot of fun in creating marketing campaigns and promoting your products and finding ways to connect with your consumers. And it's about demonstrating that the product is in fact meeting or solving the problem that existed from the start, customer focus, right? And there are four reasons why you develop marketing campaigns. You're either doing it to get attention, you're either doing it to get interest, or to stimulate desire, or to get them to buy, which is what we call action. And that's the AIDA principle, right? So you can do a campaign or marketing strategy to get attention. You're just coming out in the market, send out little teasers with the social media presentation. I'm sure they will talk about the purposes of content and what you can use content to do to get attention. There's also interest. Maybe I don't know much about your solution. What do you have to tell me to get me to be interested in what you have to offer? How can you incite? Because there is a psychological component to marketing. How can you incite desire by your marketing campaigns? And ultimately, what you want is for persons to buy, right? So that's in a nutshell what you're going to think through when you're doing your business plan and you get to that marketing segment. And remember the standard 5 P's or 4 P's: product, price, place, people, right? The other thing which we tend to not pay attention to, and I believe there's going to be a presenter that touches on this: finances. From day one, from the development process, document. Remember that journal? No, we're not talking nothing fancy yet, like QuickBooks or anything, but document everything that you have spent in moving this idea from out of your head to a prototype to the market, right? What that means is that when you're at that big stage now where you're pitching to investors, you can say, I have invested X amount. This is what I have invested in my business. Because sometimes we lose all of that information and we only get to the point where we're actually making sales. All of that is important from day one. Document all the resources, whether financial or intangible, your human capital, your brain, value, put a value to that and write it down as your contribution to the development of the business, right? And when you're preparing the marketing plan or the business plan, these are things that you will be able to state in that business plan. Now, outside of that, there are two main components that you're tracking in that business where finance is concerned. You're tracking revenues and you're tracking expenses. Everything, everything that it costs, whether you are paying or you are giving it what they call in kind, put a value to the in kind so that you can track how much is going in. And as entrepreneurs, we tend to lose a lot of that value because we are not tracking some of the things. So we don't assign a salary to ourselves and we don't assign a value to our time. If you are in services, you need to assign a value to the time to prepare the thing, to present the thing. All of that has a value. So start at the beginning. Start thinking about value. What is the value of what I'm doing? Cost. Is it a tangible cost? Is it an intangible cost? And ensure that you're documenting. That's the main thing you want to do at the beginning. Document all your financial transactions. And then further down, as you start doing transactions, now you're going to start looking at gross profit and net profit. A lot of us tend to focus on revenues and not recognize that we're doing a lot of work, we're getting a lot of sales, but somehow you always have a cash flow problem, or you're not really sure because you're not doing financial record keeping if you're actually profitable. That is critical. It is where now you're going to need to make some critical decisions about how you operate. You have to, at the end of the day, be able to say, am I profitable or am I not profitable? And sometimes it doesn't mean that if you're not profitable, you can't go on, but it may mean now looking at investment, looking at how long is it going to take for you to become profitable. So, for example, we know that Amazon for 20 years was not in a profit making position, and look at them now. Why? They were tracking value and they were able to promise investors some return on investment in the future. So these are things that you have to get a grasp of. You don't have to know it specifically as an entrepreneur, but you need to have access to those skills so that you can do your numbers and do your forecast and be able to now examine what risk is the business exposed to. Are you owing creditors? Is your business at risk of not paying your debt? Is this something that will have them coming in and closing down? So you have to look at risk. And in some instance, you have to project. You're not saying that these things are going to happen, but you need to ask yourself, what types of risk am I being exposed to with this business? And the last thing, the fifth thing that I would like to touch on is the matter of sustainability. And I spoke earlier about continuous improvement. Never get complacent as an entrepreneur with the successes in the immediate sense. Always be seeking to continuously improve your business. That means you're going to have to conduct research. You're going to have to look at what's happening in the environment that could possibly impact your business. You have to look at how people view your business. Are customers satisfied? These are the things now that require you to do research. Is my product still relevant? Where in the product life cycle is it? Is it becoming old and irrelevant? Do I need to innovate and create a new product? These are things that you want to look at when you're thinking about sustainability. Is it that I'm going to continue with the same product and expand, what they call scale? Am I going to now make 1,000 instead of 100? Or am I going to need to change the product, right? What maybe I need to change the packaging. So when I use the example of beverages like Milo, which was in the powdered form, based on what was happening in the marketplace with children and lunch kit solutions, the invention of Tetra Pak packaging changed the business model for them to now move into the Tetra Pak solution, still maintaining the powder, but now going into Tetra Pak to capture that market that would either be emerging or some of the persons that they would have lost with the powder. So these are things that you think about when you're thinking about sustainability. Also, looking at when we talk about our market, we may start by our church community. We may start by targeting our church community. I mean, you really would have to define who is your ideal customer. And if they fall within that church community, you may start there. But if you want to sustain the business, and you want to grow revenues, you're going to need to start looking at new markets and like how can you grow that business. And guess what? Sometimes the sustainability plan is to sell the business. And so we talk about serial entrepreneurs and not to become so emotionally attached to the business that you don't want to look at things like the stock market and bringing in shareholders who are not going to have opinions about your business, but nonetheless allows you to expand and to grow and to sustain and leave a legacy now for your children and your children's children. So that is it in a nutshell that I wanted to share, those 5 things, the 6 things rather. Your mindset definitely is the key to sustain you throughout the entire thing. Making sure that the business is customer focused, ensuring that your products and services meet and satisfy a problem or solve a pain, that it is differentiated, that it is innovative, and that it can be sustained. Ensure that you're applying all the various marketing principles to either attract attention, interest, desire, and action. Ensure that you're monitoring the finances from the very start. Document everything. Keep all your receipts, because even if you don't start formally doing your record keeping, at some point in time, this information will become critical. And ensure that you're thinking about sustainability and long term plans for the business. So I hope that was helpful. I'm going to now take a look at, or I'm not sure if anybody wants to field the questions for me so that I can help.
Yes, I'd be feeling the questions. So if you have any questions, we're going to be taking a few. You can indicate by raising your hand or posting it in the chat. Well, I guess the presentation was very clear. So we don't have any questions. Oh, we'll hopefully come back to you, Sajid. All right, so we'll be moving on to our next presenter, who will be introduced by Dushan.
All right, good night again, everyone. Our second speaker is a second-year law student at the Norman Manley Law School. She is also a Christian creative, sharing faith-based tips to her online community church girls through her weekly series called Dear Church Girls via Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. She is also a social media strategist and the CEO of the Content Eagle, a business aimed at helping small businesses, especially Christian businesses, to increase their visibility, generate more leads and sales through impactful marketing strategies, all the while ensuring Christ remains at the center of their business. Outspoken, purposeful, wise beyond our years, authentic, and jovial are just some of the terms we could use to describe this young lady. So I present to you Miss Zara Marie Henry.
Hi everyone, am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. Hold on there. Let me see if I can see my face. I don't know what happened.
Unmute your video. Start your video.
My video is on, but okay. You see me now? I'm clear now. Okay, awesome. Hi everyone. I could just leave because we had a wonderful presentation a while ago. Everything she touched on marketing strategies, they were good points. So first of all, I have to thank Deshaun for that wonderful introduction. It sounds good. They can send me so that whenever I need to say something again somewhere, I can send them, because that was nice. It made me sound like, you know, a decent human being. But yeah, as usual, it is wonderful to be here. I just want to chat with you a little bit about social media marketing. In addition to everything that was said before in the previous presentation, I want to emphasize that the truth is marketing on social media is far from, somebody says, so wait, it's not true. Yes, some of it, yeah, man, it's true, but it's so nice. You understand, like when we wrap it up and put like a bow on it and everything. It's so nice, yeah. So back to the topic at hand. Marketing on social media is a little bit different from traditional marketing, because we have a completely different way of reaching people online. But even though it's a little bit different, the underlined idea of it being very psychological, very emotional, very customer centered, that's just the basis of it and basic understanding. I'm a self-taught marketer. I never went to school for this. Them say me go to school, go to law and so, because they want me to turn attorney. But the truth is, this is where I found a lot of passion and a lot of excitement, because I think it challenges me. It challenged me, and I am hoping it will challenge you in your small business as you go forward. So what I'm going to do in this presentation is that I'm going to be just hitting on some big mistakes that I see made in this small business world. And I can give you a little background of how I ended up here. I ended up here because I started creating content on Instagram strategically, and I started doing research on it. I started looking into it. I started taking online courses because, you know, it intrigued me. I was very intrigued with the whole social media algorithm, the different algorithms and how they worked. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I realized that people making mad money from it. And I was like, listen, I can learn these things, learn how to apply it. I think I can do this and I can help people. And it's very easy for you. I don't want you to overthink it. Is nothing too big, whether you want to start your ministry, whether you want to use your personal page to launch out, or whether you want to use it for business. The strategies are the same right across the board. The only thing, it gets a little bit different as it relates to product-based businesses and service-based businesses, because for product-based businesses, if you have a very good product photographer and you have somebody that can write compelling captions, you make, you know, you kind of make good connections with your customers, then you go through a little bit easier, right? But service-based businesses, no, you have to put in a lot more work because you have no starting content. You have no starting stock. So your stock is your content, and that's how you're going to be able to advertise, and that's how you're going to be able to push your offer out there. So as I said, I'll be hitting on some common mistakes. So one of the first big mistake that both ministries and businesses make is that they just push their offer out there. They just say, okay, here is our phone, buy the phone. The phone costs $100, buy the phone, DM me for details. Or we're having this retreat, we're having this worship session, you should come. Follow us because you like us, follow us to hear the good news of Jesus. The truth is, as mentioned before, nobody really knows you. Nobody cares about you that much. It's kind of harsh, but that's true. But what they care about is your solution. What they care about is your offer. And what they care about is what you're there to sell them. How can you help me? How can you help me? And then over time, when you build trust, that's how they can help you. So when I see small businesses just throwing it out there, buy my product, your first post is talking about buying your product, nobody's going to buy your product. And then even if people buy your product, they might be your sister Susie from church because she like you, or because she's your mother friend. And that's just not going to work. That's not sustainable because she's not going to buy it next week. And then you're just going to be comfortable with a little bit of money, and a little bit of money, it don't make sense because you're putting in time, you're investing time. And so that's the first big mistake, just pushing things out there. And I had to do some research the other day, and I found out that 590,000 Jamaicans are leveraging Instagram, are using Instagram. And over 1 billion people worldwide are using Instagram. Instagram is such a powerful tool to start your business because you'll be able to connect. You remember that? You remember that community? You remember that customer based situation that Miss I forgot her name, the wonderful marketer lady who knows all of the good stuff about finance. Yes, the presenter before, like, yes, right. And Janine Taylor. And you remember she was talking about being very customer focused. We need to get that down pat first. We need to get the attention on your page, attention on your content, attention on your product. And then after you get the attention, you build that trust, you can start selling. And you'll see bigger companies do stuff like just push things out there and you say, well, Fashion Nova did it, I can do it too. Or if you're a ministry, you're on the general conference page and you see them just push out stuff and people just read it and people like it and you're like, but if they do it, I can do it. No, they already have a warm community. They already have people who are there waiting on them to post. So it's really a process where you're supposed to convert your followers into clients, your followers into buyers, your friends on Facebook into people who will actually want to buy from you because they might be sitting on your page, but they're just followers. The truth is 20% of your following, 20% of your Facebook group, 20% of your YouTube audience, if you have an audience, only a measly 20% will actually buy from you because not everybody is there to buy. You don't go on social media to say, "Ooh, what am I gonna buy today?" No. You go there to see people, you go there to fasten up people's business. No, we don't do that because you're Christians. But you go there to hang out. It's your safe space. You don't go there with your wallet or your credit card, you know? But over time, that's when you build trust. And then these people who are there for you, then you'll be able to use your content, you'll be able to use your community, you'll be able to use your connections to convert those followers into clients. So that's the first big mistake. The next big mistake is that you try to sell to everybody instead of zooming in on a niche, zooming in on a target audience. As mentioned before, you need to have the ideal client in mind. And when you have the ideal client in mind, you'll be able to brand for them. You'll be able to communicate with them using their pain points, using their desires, using their goals, saying, think about yourself with clear skin, you know? And well, I'm getting blurry. Right. Giving them that perfect idea because you already know what their pain points are. And then you use that and you leverage things like your Facebook stories or your Instagram stories. And you use that to allow people to trust you and trust your process because they're seeing your behind the scenes. They're seeing what you're doing. They're seeing you communicate. You're answering in DMs and you're following up. This is the third big mistake that I see people do is that they don't invest. So you try to find all of the DIYs, and when you try to find all of the DIYs, you sit down and you spend a lot of time, maybe a year, making mistakes, going back, and you never decide to pay for a course that costs $50 that could really save your life. And it's one of the biggest mistakes I see because there's so many other people doing it and doing it right, knowing the strategies, knowing what to do. It's a simple funnel. But every free content that is there for you is made to bring you to paid content. So no free content that is out there is structured uniquely for you, that is there for you in order for you to accomplish everything. No, they put it there in the same way you're putting content out there to sell your product, whether it be a physical product or a digital product. They want you to come to them, right? So now so that's the third mistake. Afterwards, we're going to go into how to post and a little content strategy conversation. Now, content strategy is something that I'm really passionate about because I know for sure that you can convert followers to clients with a good content strategy. And a good content strategy entails posting one, valuable content. Valuable content is not content that you think is valuable because we think we know it all and you remember previously we heard that we think we have a good product, but nobody wants that product really. And it's the same thing with your content marketing. You think you're providing quality, but you're really not, because you don't know what your ideal client wants. So you need to provide valuable content that is targeted based on your client's expectations, that you will know how. Market research. You're going to go into your stories and you're going to do some question and answer. You're going to go into Facebook groups. You're going to go on Quora. You're going to go on YouTube, and you're going to look under those big creators and those big businesses. If you run a skincare company, you're going to follow the biggest skincare companies, and you're going to look under their posts. You're going to see the questions. You're going to see the pain points, and then you're going to use that to frame your content. Now, when somebody comes to your page, and that's your ideal client now, when they come on your page and they say, wow, he's talking about this, or she has a product for this, then you have a buzz, because no, you're into their minds, you're into their psyche, and you're understanding what they're going through, because you have established content around their pain points. And that's what a lot of people don't know, that you don't just throw out content out there. The days of posting pretty pictures on Instagram, that's like so 2009. That's long gone. You're not going to get anywhere posting pictures of yourself or just posting pretty pictures, especially if you're service-based. As I mentioned before, if you're product-based, it's a little bit different, because you have to produce nice photos of your product. But in the same way, those product pictures have to be engaging. And you have a lot of pages on YouTube that you can go and search for product photography, and they'll show you how to take product photography, how to take product pictures, how to position the products properly, and also how to ensure that the lighting right, the mood's right. There's so much content you can get from one product, right? And then in the product photography now, and you'll have to use the captions, compelling captions, and then you have to ensure that those captions help to foster that community that we spoke about earlier. So the first thing in content strategy, speak about valuable content. Valuable content also has different purposes: entertain, promote, educate, and inspire. Entertain, promote, educate, and inspire. Remember that the trust and know strategy, the trust and know format is what we want for social media. So you have to become vulnerable at some point. You have to tell them, say, listen, I know what it feels like. I know how it feels like to have acne on my face. And I'm going to use skincare. I'm going to use skincare because I know that it's a very valuable industry right now on social media. I know what it feels like to try everything on my face. That's becoming vulnerable, right? Educational content would be like how to put together a morning routine, a proper facial morning routine. So now you're not only providing a service and a product, but you're also educating them. I say, well, on the little space I have a buzz, let me stay here. I not only get a service, but I get tips too. This is pretty cool. And as I said, these are strategies I use both on my business page and my ministry page, and it works like a charm. You have people begging me to do counseling and stuff. I'm like, I'm not a counselor. I don't know nothing about people mentality and stuff like that. I'm not trained for this. And they're like, I will charge you. I will not charge you. I will pay you. I will pay you. Tell me, when are your consultants? People are begging me for services, and the only service I have over there offer the love of Jesus. That is my only offer right now on that page, and that's what you want your content to do. You want your content to position you in such a space where people come to you and they beg you. They're like, listen, teach me how to do this. Teach me how to be like this. I want to know how to do that. And when you have such a warm audience, you can get them to anything. I know I was moving from this space where I used to post a picture on Instagram with tips when I just started out, and everything transformed for me in the past year. So I started off strategically making content last year in COVID, right? In about March, April. And I had a group of 5 friends, and I used to create content around, Christian tips and stuff. And I used to beg them to engage with my content because I wanted the algorithm to see and push the content. And they were like, oh, okay. We'll do it very, oh, my time running very reluctantly after, actually. And until now, I don't even know if they follow me anymore, because I don't need to. If I post a full stop tomorrow, I am pretty sure that one person going to say something, because I've created such a warm atmosphere that they want to hear what I have to say, because they know I'm not going to talk foolishness. And even if I'm going to talk foolishness, I'm going to say, I'm putting myself out there. I'm an idiot, and I'm a big idiot today. And I just tell you that I'm an idiot because I've made a connection, and I've made a connection by being vulnerable, educational, inspirational. And I mean, I don't really promote on that page, but I promote a lot on the Content Eagle page, which is pretty new. And I'm still in the awareness stage over there. So that's not a very, very, very good example right now. All right, so that's the second thing. First thing, we're going to create valuable content. And the second thing, we're going to create content that is educational, inspirational, entertaining, and promotional. And the third thing I'm going to cover before I just shut off my camera and stop talking is that we're going to create content with captions that have good call to actions, right? So you're going to ask your audience now to interact with you. The more your audience interacts with you, the more the algorithms say, hold on there, she makes sense. His product makes sense. Let me boost this. Let me boost this post. Let me show this post to more people. Because well, if you never know, I can tell that both Instagram and Facebook, they kind of have the same algorithm. And those are the two leading social media platforms in Jamaica right now. And they work based on interest level. So the algorithm shows you what they think you're interested in. They don't show you everybody's feed. So you realize you'll be scrolling, you might not see everybody you follow, but they show you the ones who they think you're most interested in. And if you post a piece of content and they see that content being resonated with, they show it to more people. That's just how the algorithm works right now. It might change in the future, it might not change. You never know. They're very moody. I call Instagram a girl. Very moody and change every minute and always in some city. Sneaky. Yes, there we have it. So if you create compelling captions and you use those captions to tell people, pull people in, like rope them in, like say, okay, what do you think about this? Answer me here, drop it in the comments below. Very simple call to actions. Then you get people to talk to you. And you get people to even give you suggestions. What I want you to do, if you have any business, and if you have a business or any ministry, you can go on other businesses and you can see what their call to actions are, the ones that work, the ones that don't work, and then you can use that in your content. It not go work right away. It won't work right away, but keep do it. Talk to crickets. Ask your friend to comment. Just do it until it starts working. Because remember, in order for it to work, you have to have a warm audience, and you have to convert your cold followers into warm followers, and then into clients. And to move from cold to warm, you have to nurture. So you see right in the middle, you have to nurture. You have to keep them nice, keep them loving there, nurture them, send them a welcome message, say thanks for joining my page. I hope you find it nicely over here. Be genuine. Social media was meant for socialization, okay? It was not meant for us to throw products in people's face, or to even ensure that whatever our messages, we just keep on pushing it. It was meant for social interaction. And that is why the algorithm has changed, because the algorithm realized that people turn capitalist, proper capitalist on the people them platform, what they make for people to connect with their friends. So as much as possible. And that is why some of the traditional marketing techniques won't work there, because you really need to be yourself. The days of dressing up and putting pretty pictures online, those days are gone. People need to know you. People need to see you waking up in the morning and grinding at 5 o'clock. They want to see that. And that's really what sells. That's what sells. You are your personal brand. And there's a lot more things we can talk about, but I'm going to end this presentation here. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if you have any questions, I am free to answer them now.
Yes, guys, so you can go ahead and raise your hands or post your questions in the chat. Yes, we'll invite her next time so she can finish her presentation. Okay, so Akeem Anderson wants to know the best calls to action you see in Zara.
I don't think there are call to actions that are better than any. I think your call to actions depending on the type of content that you post and your community. So I think some of the best call to actions, if I had to categorize them, are call to actions that ask for a meaningful comment. So what are your opinions on this? Should I choose X? Tell me why. Can you list suggestions? Things like that usually get people to talk because people love share them opinion because people love mind people business bad. So when you do stuff like that, you get people to show that them know what them saying. That normally works really well. But as I said, it depends on who your ideal client is. How does your audience interact? I have some captions where I really just ask for emoji and the emoji works. The emojis boost posts. And there's a thing that came out that said Instagram don't read emojis, and if you only comment one word, it don't make sense. No, that's crap. Nothing goes so. A comment is a comment. They're all equal.
All right, any other questions? Okay, short tips on nurturing your audience, and this will be the last one.
Short tips on nurturing your audience. Okay. Welcome messages. So it's if you're a service-based company, you can just message them. Don't try selling, just tell them thank you for joining your community. And you really hope that the tips shared here will be of benefit to them. That's a very good one. I say that at work all the time. People are normally, oh, that's so nice. And I want you to be genuine too. Don't do that because you're fake. We don't that's flaky. We don't do faking things over here, right? So welcome tips, that's one. And two, another nurturing post is to talk in the DMs. So the DMs is where a lot of magic happens. You don't need a lot of followers to make business or to have good clients. You just need some loyal followers. And how do you get loyal people? You connect with them in the DMs.
All right, thank you, Zara. And for more questions, for more answers to your questions, you can check her out at the Content Ego on Instagram. You can DM her your questions, and I'm sure she'll gladly answer them, right, Zara?
Sure. Message me on my personal account because I kind of going to change the Content Ego name, but that's another other thing for another day. But okay. Ara is the underscore, okay?
All right, thank you, Zara. So we'll jump right into our next presentation, and our speaker will be introduced by Crystal.
Hi everyone, good night. I hope everyone is learning thus far and taking notes. I know I am. All right, our final speaker for tonight is Mr. O.W.L.S. He is an elder at the Maypen SDA Church and a recently minted Justice of the Peace, owner and operator of Omar's Roti, a popular restaurant in Clarendon. He has years of experience in managing a successful business, which has withstood the highs and the lows of the business cycle. He is kind, a friend of the youth, humble, and diligent in all he's doing. Mr. O.W.L.S. will speak to us today on the topic contingency planning.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Somebody's hearing me. I said to myself that having listened to Miss Janine Taylor, I wondered why I'm here, because she has basically contextualized and given you guys the full run of all that and some that I would have said, and I guess it will overlap at some point. But I must tell her straight up, I truly do appreciate her presentation. And Miss Zara Marie, you remind me so much of one of my daughters. Full of life, One former prime minister says vim and vitality. But that's good. You're young and youthful, and it should show. I was asked to look at contingency planning. Hope you're hearing me, guys. All right. I was asked to look at contingency planning. I just added this part of it, a necessary imperative. Let me know if you're hearing me, please. Give me a hello or something that you guys are hearing.
Yes, we are
We're hearing, we're
hearing.
hearing.
Okay, fine. Thank you. I was wondering if the class has gone to sleep already. All right, so I consider it as a necessary imperative. But what is contingency planning? One definition says contingency planning is defined as a course of action designed to help an organization respond to an event that may or may not happen. Contingency plans can be referred to as Plan B, because it can work as an alternative action, if things do not go as planned. The other definition says a course of action to be followed if a preferred plan fails or the existing situation changes. Again, it says a plan or procedure that will take effect if an emergency occurs, like an emergency plan. So let me start where I normally would. As an elder in the church, it's very hard for you to avoid me with the Bible. Proverbs 22:29 says, "Sayest thou, man diligent in his business, he shall stand before kings, he shall not stand before mean men." Now I'm going to go to something that Ms. Janine had mentioned, entrepreneurship. A simple definition of it is that a person who takes up a business or businesses, a serial entrepreneur that would be, taking on financial risk in the hope of a profit. Now, you will see me having in brackets there, no guarantee that you may succeed. And I beg of you, for those of you who are planning entrepreneurship as a lifestyle, don't ever forget that part. There is no guarantee that you will succeed, but it requires a certain amount of input. It requires a certain amount of involvement. An entrepreneur is one who organizes a business or develops an idea and takes responsibility for its operation, its profits, and its losses. So all of those things comes with the territory. One without the other may do or it may not do. For me, I have traveled this road for a while. But what I've told myself that the only option that's not available to me is the option that is called failure. That one, for me, has not been tried and proven, because as an entrepreneur, I really don't need it. There's a businessman by the name of Jay Goals who once said, choosing entrepreneurship may be one of the most simple and pure adventures you can take. No permission needed from anyone, no essays to write, no test to take, no interviews to get through, no one to tell you what to do or what not to do. And of course, no one else take the credit or the blame. So again, that comes with a package. You need only the possible crazy notion that someone wants to pay you money for your goods or services, and the guts to quit your job, sign the lease, borrow some money, spend the money, and tell your spouse, parents, and or parole officer that you have done that. For some, this is invigorating. They get a high from it. For others, it is intimidating because there's a fear that comes with it. But it can be both. Certainly, it's very different from more predictable parts of going to graduate school or getting a job Or like Zara Marie becoming a lawyer. All right, can be that. So let's look again. Praveen Ben, also an individual who is well known within the circles for speaking on this topic of entrepreneurship. He says, entrepreneurship is like giving birth to a child. A woman's love of child overcomes the risk of life. The entrepreneur's passion overcomes the risk of loss. And for those who are mothers, they will tell you one thing. You may go through the pain of having a child, but even when you would have gone through the pain, and when the child comes and grows, and you see the child and you touch the child, and you can see the life in the child and how the child is progressing, having the next baby, that pain is totally forgotten. That is what he was saying. But as Ms. Janine also mentioned, there's a particular thinking of an entrepreneur that's different from everyone else. And we don't want to get into the technicalities, the chronology of an entrepreneur, how the brain thinks. But the approach, we tend to look at things a little bit differently. We are more of risk takers. Our creative juices are always flowing. Our work ethics tend to be higher, at a much higher pace. We're not persons that are taken down or feel like we are intimidated. In other words, our self-esteem is always up there, and we are more focused about some things, and we have to apply sometimes with restraint, some patience to ensure that we achieve the intended objective. All right? So that's what the mind of an entrepreneur will speak of. But let's jump. Entrepreneurs play a key role in any economy, for these are the people who have the skills and initiative necessary to take a new idea to market, to make the right decisions, to make the idea profitable. As a businessman, we're no different in many respects. But what separates us, as business persons, let me say, is having an idea and putting that idea into fruition. That's something that you can, something that you will see and you want to do it. All right? So here's a fact. The greater percentage of goods and services that consumers enjoy in this world are provided and produced by entrepreneurs. Very little come from government. And I hope you people understand and know that. Very little come from government. Government is there for a purpose, to manage the overall structure of the country, to put things in place, actions, rules, laws that will help to govern how we as entrepreneurs will be able to survive and how we do things. You have an advantage over someone who has just graduated from the university with a degree in a lot of things, plenty of things, many letters by your name. The very day you graduate as an entrepreneur, you can become an employer of yourself and of someone else. And that's an important advantage that you have when you have taken on this as a fact. All right, I've been an entrepreneur. But then let me give the warning now. There's a well-established small business association statistics that says 1/3 of all new businesses will fail within the first 2 years. Hear that? 56% will fail within the first 4 years. So I ask the question, with a statistic such as this, are you still interested in being an entrepreneur? Maybe you are, maybe you're not. So we're going to look at some things that makes them different, makes the entrepreneur different as we go into what the contingencies that are there and why they're there. First one, the vision that you have as an entrepreneur to provide a product to fill an obvious and existing need. That is the key to being an entrepreneur. You recognize what you would consider as a niche. For me, I recognized this niche and started my business, the restaurant business, in 1999, sorry. But this has been something that has been in my head for over 10 years. I spoke to my colleagues about this as I carried them to work in the mornings as we drive into Kingston. I bounced it off them. I gave them a full ears of the idea that I have. For years, they've heard me saying the thing. But then there came a time when I had to start talking about it and put it on the ground. Secondly, I had a passion for what I intended on doing, which is the restaurant business. I love good food. But more than that, I love to see people enjoying good food. I know that when I started, I could not, and I did not want to be one of these big restaurants, didn't have the money for that. But equally, I had no intention to be a cook shop. But on top of that, I realized that there was this niche in between where there was a different kind of service, a different kind of product, and a different kind of atmosphere that was needed and necessary. So the 10 years prior to my putting this on the ground, I invest in books, read a lot about the restaurant business, in magazines, and I did one very solid investment. From I started it, it became a part of me. The biggest restaurant show in the world is held in Chicago in May of every year at what is called the McCormick Business Center. I expended monies to go to that show for the first time as a young entrepreneur, for someone who barely have a location, but having read so many things about what happens at that particular show, I said, but I have to go. So when I went to that show the first time, I realized I was seeing people from the Tasties. I was seeing people from the Juicy Patties. I was seeing people from the big McDonald's and Burger King and KFC. And I almost asked myself, am I really supposed to be here? By the time I go back to the hotel the night, I started reading the pamphlets and all kind of things that they gave me. I said, yes, this is the place to be. So that gave me a different mindset of not going by way of a cook shop, but the small place I started with, it had to be different. The presentation was different. The atmosphere was different. And then I recognized one very important thing, that I had to be selling not just food, but an experience. So that when you came to my place, when you had my food, you felt so comfortable that you're coming back for not just food, but just for the atmosphere too, to relax and to say, you know, something, this is good. So that is one thing that you have to also remember. Your passion for what you want to do must be unwavering. The other thing now is that customer service was a concern I had in Jamaica for a long time. Having traveled to different places, gone into different stores, I realized that we had a serious problem here. We still have. And I decided I want to make an effort to buck this trend. Sam Walton, then CEO of Walmart, said this, and I read this in the book, Customer Service for Dummies. He said, there is only one boss. And whether a person shines shoes for a living or heads up the biggest corporation in the world, the boss remains the same boss. It is the customer. The customer is the person who pays everyone's salary and who decides whether a business is going to succeed or fail. In fact, the customer can fire everybody in the company from the chairman, CEO, or down, and he can do it simply by spending his money somewhere else. Literally, everything we do, every concept perceived, every technology developed, and associate employed is directed with this one object clearly in mind, and that is pleasing the customer. So it doesn't matter the size business that you decide to go into. It doesn't matter the business that you want to go into. I so happen to be in a customer service driven business that's called the restaurant business, hospitality. And I decided that my approach had to be different. Now, creativity and drive in this business is important. You see, creativity and drive will propel your passion to produce a product or service that will make your customers so happy they will want to tell others about it. Now I want you to learn this. When the customer is happy, sadly, they will tell maybe a family member. They're happy, you know. And this is an advertising that you can't pay for, because it is something that you did not start in the first place, except for what you have provided. But they'll tell family members. Family members may follow you there or may ask for direction, or they'll go. But when a customer is unhappy, that customer tells everybody, friend, family, enemy, the dog, everybody. Everybody knows that there is a problem because they came to your place of business and they left feeling unhappy. We must remember that this is all about the customer. Let them become your unofficial partners in your effort to improve your business. I have an approach I take. For me, the customer who complains or is critical, it may seem strange, but that's a customer that I tend to have a greater admiration for. Why, you may say, because what? That customer gives me an opportunity to improve what I'm doing and what I'm offering. The customer who is unhappy and leaves mad and don't speak to anybody, I have no idea outside of what they may have spoken about that they're unhappy about. They can't help me. But the customer that criticizes and the customer that may seem difficult is the customer that will help me. Dedication and determination to achieve your goal is important. It's a part of your commitment. Secondly, to succeed at all costs is fulfilling your passion. And third, failure is not one of the luxury options available when you start this journey. And I've said that before. And this is where proper contingency planning plays an important role, so as to mitigate against the unseen or the unknown. There's a law that we are familiar with that we call Murphy's Law, where anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I know that. I have lived it in this business. But at the same time, you cannot be afraid to fail, because fear will cripple your creative ability as an entrepreneur. Now, You must be willing to take calculated risk. But at the same time, you have to be measured in that risk taking. The first speaker said this, and it's important, and to some extent to Zara. Be determined to make your product a brand. Why should you do that? Brands have value. It's something that the people in marketing will tell you can be sold different from your business. And some may not know, but your name of your brand, when it is recognized and seen, can have as much value as the business. Which one of us can buy the name Kentucky Fried Chicken? That's brand. And that's what the marketing comes from. And that's what the marketing does. You have a brand, it becomes a part of the value added part of your business. I say to myself, I took on the position as a madman, and I indicated there that I wanted my business to be such a brand. Now, when you do this, when you take on this business of being an entrepreneur, this is important. You have to believe in yourself. If you are not convinced of what you are marketing or selling, no one else will be. Trust me. If you say, I'm going to sell this bottle of water, and you doubt about selling this bottle of water, I'm saying you're wasting your time. Because if you don't take yourself seriously, nobody else will. And if you're going to sell this bottle of water, be the best person at selling this bottle of water. I took that approach in my business because I say to myself, I know the product that I have. And this is where I can also say we, because my wife and I, we realize what we have. Martha majored in nutrition, and I'm in the sciences. I was out in packaging out for all this time. So when I walked away from the corporate world and the squishy office after many years, I say, you know something, I'm doing this because I think I can do this for myself now. It's time that I make an effort to make persons happy, as I've been doing with making the directors happy. So this is what happened to me. I believed in myself. I believed that I could accomplish what I've been accomplishing for these companies for years, for letting them build their houses on Queen Hill and Russell Heights and stuff like that. And I'm saying, hey, listen, it's their investment. They have a right to a return on their investment, and they have a right to live comfortable. But I got to the point where I said to myself, it is not my time to make that effort, to look after a legacy to leave for my children. And so my belief propelled me to push my passion. But you have to enjoy what you do. Let others know. Use your family, use your friend as guinea pigs. Just as my marketing friend, Zara, says you talk to even one person, ask them to respond to it. But you talk to people who are close to you. Tell them about your idea. Do product sampling. Taste this. What do you think of this? We had to go through all of that to get to the point where we could say, okay, you know something? We're going to move from the experimental stage now to the real thing. The family town guinea pig now, we're going to turn the customers out there into people who want to get what we have. In other words, I became a shameless self-promoter. But as I say, not obnoxious. Promoting my product. This is what you have. I'm giving you the best curry and roti that you can find anywhere. I believed in what we had, and I decided that, listen, we're going to promote it that same way. People need to know that we have. But all of that was a part of the plan that we had to do what we had to do. But do not go into business for the wrong reason. And I'm adding this as a little backup, because sometimes I'm using my grandmother's word, bad mind. Some people go into business across the road from John because they see what John is doing. The item John has been selling. John seemed to be doing well. He has bought a little car and he now drives home and he comes and opens his business and he hears that John has bought a little piece of land. And so you bad man, you decide you're going to do the same thing as John and you go right across the road from John. That makes no sense. You can't go into business for the wrong reason or else you'll fail. You can go and do the business because you have some money and you think you should do something. That will fail because what you have there is not a drive or desire to provide a product or a service that will help the society, but you're doing it for the wrong purpose, which is to try and take away John's business from him and to just spend some money that you think you have to spend. All right? So it requires self-discipline to maintain your purpose in spite of the obvious obstacles or distractions that will come, and they will come. The economy can tank. Some years ago, when the world's economy was spinning out of control, I was concerned. But as a Christian, I was not worried because I've oftentimes said that God really doesn't know anything about recession. He's always encouraging me to bring my tithes into the storehouse. And he says, prove me now in this, said the Lord. So I'm saying, but God that wouldn't be in the Bible to prove him, and yet he creates recessions. I said, he doesn't. And so I had to plan by doing different things so that my business would have been sustained. So some of the things that can affect that kind of planning is your economy, the staff, family, the financial aspect of it, the unavailability of raw material, and that big word nowadays, the pandemic. This is where the importance of sound contingency planning really now start getting into place. Now, let us look at the contingency plan for this economy, for this the economy in this time. We have had to ensure that we keep in touch with the government protocols that exist. We made a concerted effort to find out what are the pandemic protocols, contact the local health department or the emergency services, even like the police, to find out more information all the time. We have made an effort to communicate openly with our employees. Now, why do we do this? The first step is to get reliable source of information from the pandemic and the Ministry of Health, about the pandemic and from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. You see, with this information, what you do, facts provided or learned about something or someone. What you do, shut up, Siri. What you do is that you get first-hand information from the government to share with your staff and not allow them to listen to things that are going around. Because fact must be totally separated from fiction. You have to let them know what is going on, because the intention is that you not only will protect them, but you protect their families, and in so doing, you're protecting your business. This is one time you cannot say you don't care about anybody except yourself. And any businessman who takes that position is going to be doomed. Because if I don't talk to my staff to tell them the importance of taking care of themselves, social distancing, washing their hands, and all the stuff about what to do, my business is going to get into trouble. I'm thanking God to this point that we have not had a situation where a staff member has to be out. Now, another thing that we looked on in the planning so far is to create a safe working environment. For me, safety takes an added scrutiny when it comes to a virus, because cleanliness on the microbial level is key. Providing necessary sanitizing supplies to keep your employees, surfaces, and equipment clean. Part of keeping your business clean also means reminding your employees to report the symptoms as soon as possible. This includes fever, coughing, and/or shortness of breath. All are things which are symptoms of a greater problem. For us, when you come through the door, and there's one door now that everybody goes through. When you come through that door, where you stand, your temperature checked, you're sanitized, you go to the wash sink which is close by, you touch nothing before, then you wash your hands with water and soap, then you're allowed to come inside. It is important for us to do that so as to protect the business, the staff, their family, the customer. And that's very, very important. Now, there's a part about this that some people may find a little bit hard, but it is what it is. There is, sorry about that. Let me change that. What we've had to do is to identify essential employees and their functions. The textbook may call it your crisis team. Why is it? Why do we consider them that? No, you could say everyone is essential in a restaurant. I could say that all my staff is essential. However, if you have to run a bare bones or skeleton staff, as they call it, like a skeleton staff operation, you have to identify who these employees are. You have to create a list of all the employees and functions that are critical to run your business to keep it operational. This will ensure your restaurant can stay open even during a crisis. The focus nowadays has shifted from indoor dining, and this is because most people are ordering food for pickup or for delivery. How did we get here? Nobody could not have planned for this pandemic. None of us could have. But it is here, and it is what it is. We have had to make a decision to part company with some of our members' staff. But it was not permanent. It was done so as to ensure that everybody had some salary to take care of their families, because they're all important to us before the pandemic. And they became even more important to us during the pandemic. So as a business, we have had to say, okay, this is a core group of persons. We're going to make sure that you guys still have a salary. So some people will work this week, some will work next week, and we rotate it in what we call a week on, week off. And trust me, when the staff recognize that we're not going to be sent home to stay home in this very difficult time when people are losing their jobs, but I will be home this week, but next week I will get a salary. And they realize also that they provided them an opportunity to do some things at home that they may have long time wanted to do. But these are important persons to the organization, and we try to make an effort to keep them. They became integral to the planning where we start to identify the customers who they know, because we have been keeping a log, and we're putting that to get it to a social media situation where we can get to our customers via WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, so that they can know that, listen, you not only have to come into the store anymore, just call us, make your order, and we deliver to your car. So then we introduce a curbside service system. It had worked for us with a lot of people. Some people collect the meals, and you would think that they would move from the space so that somebody else can come, but their cars have now become their dining room. But we've had to plan this so that we survive. We have also had to go into deliveries in a greater way than we used to before. And we do not charge people for delivery because we know it is important. A part of this planning also during a time like this is that we had to be prepared for absenteeism. There will undoubtedly be a lot of absenteeism, and we did have that. But before we get caught off guard, we started the painful task to have to tell persons that they will have to be separated from their jobs, and that's some persons. Not only will you have to account for employees that might get the virus, but also employees whose family members are sick. Other reasons for your employees not showing up will include taking care of their kids, quarantines, and no transportation. We have had situations like that. People come from areas that were under quarantine. And so while they were not sick, there was a challenge for them to come to work. But when all of this was happening, we had to learn to minimize our losses, because guess what happened? Suppliers were unable to come as they used to. The people from in the rural areas that will take the food down to the markets, they were unable to come. So we were having a challenge. But until we figure out what exactly is going on, you will be losing business, and that's natural. It happened. There is no way around it. But in the meantime, we have made efforts to minimize our losses by adopting some new operational measures. We have modified our menus to customer concerns or item shortages. Some people used to come and they say, listen, I want curry goat, curry chicken, roast chicken, and I want only vegetables. I want tomatoes and I want lettuce. Now, how do you sell a customer a meal with lettuce at $600 a pound and tomatoes at $400 a pound for the same price that you have been telling them before? It's impossible. It couldn't work. So we have had to also educate our customers to understanding that, listen, we're going to still be doing what we can do for you, but we cannot do what we used to do unless you're willing to pay the additional cost for us to do that. Some persons would have rebelled, as you would expect, but most persons understand. So we altered our menu offering, and it helps us to also ride through this storm. We have increased our takeout options, as I mentioned before, and increased our delivery and our curbside service. Increase remote ordering capacity and infrastructure support. In other words, we now allow our customers to send their order in via WhatsApp. We fulfill those orders. We can call through on a WhatsApp line, or we can tell you that, listen, your order is ready. You can pick up curbside. We have had to do all of those to balance ourselves so that we can, continue to survive. Now, keeping your business contingency and continuity plan going is important. So while you might be doing the business continuity plan for this coronavirus on the fly, it is to be learned, to be a learning experience going for a life, the total life of your business. So for me, we have learned some stuff during this very difficult and challenging times. But it is things that will help us going forward. We have always been cleaning, but it has taught us to clean better. We have always been selling to our customers, but it has taught us to do a better job. We have always made an effort to provide good customer service, but we realize how important the customers are who have a dedication to our business and like what we have been offering. So we have now made an effort to let them become more family than anything else, and has created from this our customer base by way of gathering data about them, so that we can know whenever we have any changes, we can send a WhatsApp message or an Instagram so that we can reach them at a moment's notice. Now, to close, I'm going to say this. Many persons going to whatever business they're going to, and they don't realize that there's some things that you have to do to get where you are. Not all of us, when we're fortunate enough to have the operational expenses available to us or the cash to start up, sometimes we have to make some decisions. We have to part with some things that we may love so as to get something that is better for us in the future. We may have to part with a car that we need to part with. I have had to do things like those, made decisions. So I want this property, but I don't have the money to buy the property. But if I sell this car, I can get the money to make up with the money that I've saved to buy the property to start the building. So you make a short-term decision for a long-term gain. Now, cash flow is the lifeblood of your business. So what has happened to people like myself and colleagues that I've known for years in the business is that when something like this pandemic hit, realize that if we have loans or some loan facilities, mortgages with the bank, that the first thing that we had to do was to go and sit with the bank people and say, listen, there is something happening that we have no control over. So I'm asking you, the loan that you have that have been servicing very good over the years, I want you to give me some moratorium, give me some time and not take this from me now. Give me 6 months, 9 months, and then we can start back the loan payments during that time. So that's one plan that you have to make. It's part of the contingency so not to lose your business. You can't take the money that you see that's coming in during challenging times and be foolish enough to focus on bling. There are some persons, the first money they see, they want the first C-class Benz. It don't make any sense. It's not common sense, and it doesn't work out. You're going to look foolish, you're going to look bad, and you're going to have regrets. You can't spend the first money that you get not remembering that the bills have to be paid. And an important thing in the business is integrity and honesty. Most important thing that will glue all of what I've said together. People like to trust person that they are doing business with. Don't ever forget that. When you are trustworthy, when your customer base think that they can trust these people to be there, when they know that they can come to me, they can leave their houses and come to me on a Sunday morning to have breakfast, it's important. When they can trust you to know that the quality product that you're providing for them to put in their stomach, it is important. When they can trust you based on what they know of you and your integrity and your decency as an individual, it is important. And you will find that you and persons will meet in the marketplace. They will see what you're purchasing for them to put in their stomachs. It is important. If a customer doesn't trust you, he will tell others the same thing. Your name will get around, your business will suffer. The most well-known thing about our tradesmen in this country is that they are not trustworthy. And because of that, they've lost business. Now, having said all of that, this is my last question. Do you still want to be an entrepreneur? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brother Ati. Thank you for that presentation, and we just have time to take one question, just one. So you can raise your hand or you can type it in the chat. And I see some persons saying, yes, they still want to be entrepreneurs. So that's good.
Right.
They have the commitment already.
Right.
All right, so Sasha asks, what is branding?
What is branding? That's a question?
Yes, what is branding?
All right. I guess the marketing persons would be better able to answer the question than I would. But what I would say to you is that if you look at KFC, and this is not because I'm in the food business, but I would say to you that it is not the best chicken in the world. It is not. If you were to take a piece of KFC and put it on a napkin just for a couple of seconds, and you see the amount of oil that comes out on it, that's not something that I would say is good for you or anybody. But guess what? Kentucky as a brand is well known over the world. You see the red stripe box, you see Colonel Sanders, and you recognize it readily. It's a brand, it's well known, and it's accepted and pushed to tell you that it's the best thing in the world. But it's a brand, a recognizable brand. You see D and G on the bottle, a recognizable brand. You understand? You will see, you see some logo and they are brands, they have become brands, and those brands have a cost. They have a cost. Branding is when you take a product and you take it to a level where you don't have to say anything about it, but when you see it, it speaks for itself very clearly. Miss Janine would be able to even tell you more about that from a marketing perspective.
Okay, so I think you kind of covered it well, Howard.
Thanks, Janine.
I would say it is a form of identification, and I always say it is like having a name. And
Yes.
it is the way that your consumers identify you in the noise of the market. And it has intangible value. So every time you create an experience that the consumers ascribe a value to it, it starts increasing in its capital value.
That's
And
right.
from a finance perspective, at some point, that value becomes something that you can put on your balance sheet. So it's not to be
Precisely.
taken lightly, not to be taken lightly at all. And I am amazed sometimes at the fact that our Jamaican entrepreneurs don't invest properly in branding from the get-go. And the last thing I'll say about that is at the onset of the business, you must determine what you want to be at the end of that,
Right.
at the
So the
end of
business,
that business.
so you should know the business cycle.
You
Yes.
should know the business cycle. You must have a vision, because what
Yes.
we do sometimes is where you explained, where you wanted that restaurant to be in the mid range. You would have had to decide that from the get go, even if your startup capabilities could not take you there. So it means that from the get go, you're giving that brand promise and you're extending that brand value, and that is how you build the wealth. So at the end of the day, if you change the product, it doesn't matter. The brand will still stand.
You see, I'm going to add something as you close. That there was a time when my restaurant was actually in the trunk of my car. But it was my restaurant. It started out of my car. And it was the same trunk of my car that used to go and buy the rum goods in St. Elizabeth. But what I find is that a lot of persons don't want to start there. They want to start up here, Miss Janine, and then go up there instead of starting to get there. But it comes again to commitment. It comes again with a passion. It comes again with a desire. And at the end of the day, what do I want to see on my customer's face when they partake of this item that I just gave them? That's the
Exactly.
point.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much um, to our presenters. And thank you guys for interacting and asking questions. I'm sure we have all learned something new tonight. And for those persons who own business, they will go away with a wealth of knowledge on how to improve their businesses. And for those thinking of opening their businesses, would have benefited from the presentations tonight. We will now have the vote of thanks being done by our acting vice president, Daniel Taylor.
Good evening, and thank you. Yes, I really do want to say thank you to all our presenters, from Janine Taylor, sharing with us this evening, and Zara Marie. I really appreciate the points that you have pointed out for us, and I know that many persons have been impacted and have taken many notes in these tips that we've gotten, even more importantly and carefully. Mr. Howard Otte, who shared with us contingency planning. So we now know how to put a business together, how to market that business, and how to plan for the future of that business, and ensuring that by God's mercies and grace and under his direction and guidance, we're able to do our work and occupy until he comes, and to make better our society and our fellow men around us. Now, with that said, let us now going with us now going away, leaving this space where we've now learned so much, a wealth of knowledge. We want to pray over this information that we've written down or taken a mental note of, and go with it in prayer, so that when we leave here, it stays with us forever. Bow your heads with me wherever you are as we pray. Dear kind, loving, and eternal Father, we thank you for giving us the ability to impart wisdom unto one another, to edify each other, not only in the things above, but also the things on earth, and having that one up on the devil as we are working in your fields, we are working in your vineyards. And as we go out and make plans for the future, make plans for our businesses, and in assisting and aiding those around us, providing services, providing products, and planning for being better stewards of that which you've given to us, Lord, I ask that you strengthen us, guide us, and be our inspiration and our guidance through it all. This we pray, that we have a restful night and wake tomorrow morning refreshed for another moment with God. This I ask in your Son name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thanks for the invite. Take care of yourselves.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
And is Zara gone? Zara, we need to talk. If
Yeah,
Zara
she
is
had
there.
to leave. She had to
Okay.
leave early.
All right,
for
well,
the
Kushima,
audience.
you have to give me some contact for Zara. I think we have to talk.
Okay, sure, I will.
Well,
All
before we
righty.
go, just have a few announcements, and our food drive continues. So we're inviting you, if you are able to, please go ahead and contact Janika Allen. She is in the chat right there telling us good night. You can reach out to her if you'd like to donate to the ministry's food drive. We'll be at Rawlington Town SDA on February 20th for a Sabbath school. You can join us on Zoom. Also on the 27th, we will be at Brampton SDA, and our next Vesper service will be by the Welfare and Hospitality Department on February the 19th. Remember, you can always pray with us every 6 hours, and we'll have our individual prayer and fasting along with our spiritual prayer and fasting coming up, so you can hear more about that in the coming days. Join us tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. on this very link for a moment with God. Have a blessed evening, everyone.
Take care.